Environment Sustainability meeting today, Wednesday, February 20th. Can we have a roll call, please?
Calling the roll, Ms. Simon,
Here.
Ms. Brown, Mr. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent at the moment. Mr. Brady,
Here.
there is a quorum. Also like the record to reflect that Councilman Miller is in attendance.
Thank you. Any public comment?
No, Madam Chair, no one has signed in.
So we have minutes from our last meeting, Wednesday, February 6th. Move to approve? Second. All in favor? Aye. Minutes approved. Okay, so we have one matter referred to committee, CTAC.
Resolution number 2019-0050, authorizing an amendment to a master agreement with various political subdivisions for community school-based Closing the Achievement Gap and American Program Services.
Hi, Robin. Hi.
Is it on now? Okay. Good afternoon, Robin Martin, Family and Children First Council. This service has been in effect since 2014. This is the first time it has come before council. We merged the 4 original districts into a master contract. There's funding. There was a funding increase in 2016 to add the middle school linkage coordinator and services for middle school youth, and another increase in 2018 for the linkage coordinators and a parent engagement component. The contract covers tutoring, credit retention, exposure trips, college tours, college prep for youth who are interested in college, and a career path for youth who are not looking at the college prep track. The linkage coordinators provide direct support to the youth that includes mentoring. And so it's in 4 districts: Garfield, Maple, Warrensville, Cleveland Heights, University Heights, and it is a year-round program.
Okay, Councilman Jones.
Well, Robin, give us an update. How are things going with the contract and the delivering of services?
Well, right now, we are waiting for the evaluation for 2019. Case Western Reserve University did the initial evaluation last year. We changed the evaluation contract over to, it's being done in-house. And so our office has been responsible for working with the districts to collect the data. And we are next in the queue for the contract and the evaluation to be reviewed by the in-house evaluator. And so we should have a full report probably in April, but from what I'm hearing so far, it's going well.
Excellent. So they're actually engaged at this moment, the evaluators?
Yes.
They are meeting with the schools?
They're meeting, well, they're not meeting with the schools. My staff has been meeting with the schools to collect information because we don't have the same, our evaluation staff in-house is not as large as the staff at Case, but they do have the capacity to do this. You just have to wait a little longer. But the staff person in my office worked alongside Case to collect the information. And so she has been collecting information from the districts on a quarterly basis and submitting the information to the evaluator. And the evaluator is supposed to do an annual report every year, so it's time for that annual report. And so they'll have their first meeting next week to kick off the evaluation, but all of the data has been collected. We just need to follow up with one district because we need to correct some of the information they sent.
I see 4 schools, but the East Tech and Glenville were added. They're not part of the master plan?
No, they're not. That is a separate contract that has already been approved in the Board of Control. And East Cleveland is the same. It's a separate contract.
Okay. What was, kind of take me back in history, what made it separate as opposed to not just making it all one master plan?
They came on at a different time.
At different
And
times.
so when they came on, the master contract was already in motion.
Okay. The evaluator, are they evaluating all the school systems? How is all
They are collecting the same data from all of the districts.
the districts? Okay. All right, thank you.
Questions from the committee? Okay, Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, Director, now that we're doing it in-house, what is the cost of the evaluation on an annual basis? And is that included in the $511,800, or is it separate?
Well, the person who is conducting the evaluation now is a staff person, so I'm not sure that I can give you an actual cost of the evaluation. We are saving $100,000 that we were paying Case and having it done in-house. And because it's a staff person, it has no impact on the $511,000.
And for the total of 4 schools, how many students are currently participating in the program?
They usually have between 50 and 75 kids per district. Depending
So
on
you're
your enrollment
talking-
at the building.
So you're talking between 200 and 300
Yes,
students for the program.
yes.
And how many do we have at East Cleveland, East Tech, and Glenville?
I would have to go back and get specific numbers from them. I can tell you that the program at East Tech and Glenville, they're is an all-girls program, whereas the other programs are boys and girls.
Okay. And are there any additional schools that we're contemplating expanding to, or is this this list of 6 districts, does that comprise all of it for the foreseeable future?
These are the only districts I have knowledge of.
Okay, fine.
I can share with you, there are other school systems that call me. They do call and they ask. They hear about what's going on with the other schools and they call. So there are a few names, but there's obviously no commitments to anyone, but they certainly have asked.
Okay, so there's some interest expressed, but nothing specific at this point.
Nothing specific.
Okay, fine.
Any other questions? I have a couple questions. So how were these schools selected? I mean, it goes back in time when we started this, probably, right?
Without going through all the history, there was a flash mob situation in Garfield Heights. This was in response to that. So Garfield Heights and Maple, 2 sister cities in my district, started. Councilwoman Chantel Brown and liked what she saw, and she asked for her city of Warrensville Heights to be added. Anthony Hairston felt the same and asked that Cleveland Heights be added, and then ultimately East Cleveland, which was in his district as well. So it was addressing the needs in their respective districts, as that's how we got to the cities that we are in now. And
Okay. So this 511 is for, was this part of the budget amount?
Yes.
And what's it for specifically, this link coordinator?
It's for the tutoring, credit retention, exposure trips,
You
college
said that.
tours, that whole list.
Is that something new, or is it just, I thought we've been doing that the whole time?
We have.
Okay.
It's just we've, over the last 2 years, there's some pieces that have been expanded, which raised the cost. And because the cost increased, that's what brought it before council versus it going before Board of Control. And it being a master contract where all of the schools, the 4 schools were on one. So that
Got it.
also did it.
Correct. I understand. So the in-house evaluation is in addition to what Case did? Is it expand? I thought Case
It's in place of.
in place. So we had the first evaluation done by Case. That they
Correct.
came before us and presented. And that was how much? You said we're
It was
saving.
$100,000.
And so who in-house, your department?
No.
In CTAC?
No,
What
there is
staff?
a gentleman who was part of Health and Human Services, Dr. Leon Harris, is working on the evaluation. And actually, Leon came to the county from Case and worked on the evaluation team at Case that was doing the CTAG evaluation. So he was a part of the setup. And so because they were able to do the original evaluation, it'll be like a longitudinal evaluation. He'll just build off of it every year when we get new data. But the base of it is set up.
It was set up by Case, and he
Correct.
was
He was a
involved
part of the
with
team.
that.
Yes.
And so this money that we've budgeted for this program does not include additional evaluations because it's being done in-house, or does some of this money go to the subsequent evaluations?
The evaluation was a separate contract and
With
not a
Case?
part of this.
Right,
Yes.
but what about going forward?
It is not budgeted. It was taken out because we felt that it could be done in-house.
So we're not paying for the in-house service.
No, because he's a staff person.
Got it. Just want to be clear.
Okay.
And do other schools, is there a waiting list? How does that work? Pernell Jones, Councilman.
There is no waiting list. It's very informal. It's simply people have called and asked. I have not created any type of structure as to how someone requests an opportunity to be a part of the initiative. I just have a few names of people who said, hey, how do we be a part? So nothing formalized in any way. I simply envision the budget cycle coming up, and we as my colleagues, we will have that discussion as to what this body thinks should happen.
And how many people at CTAG work there? I mean, what are we funding for these schools? Is it a staff employed by who?
Each individual mentor makes a salary of roughly $47,000.
Correct.
That's part of it. The $47,000 is first and foremost to the mentor. And then there are itemized list of things that cover, as Robin already said, the tour itself, series of ancillary things that are wrapped around the mentor himself.
And so are the mentors employed by the school, or are they employed by
They're employed by the districts.
each school, and we just fund the school to hire a mentor?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
And I'll say this, the reason that I've always advocated for the evaluation is this is somewhat different. The department would typically contract directly. They would, Robin's department, every department here contracts with the department or someone, a contractor, and delivers a service on behalf of the county. The school system is placed in between, in this case, Robin and the contractor. So the money goes to her department. The school board accepts it, and they vote to accept the money Robin gives, and then they hire a contractor to deliver the service. So there is a school system between Robin and the contractor. With the evaluation, with Case Western Reserve, we saw the metrics: increased education, increased attendance and graduation, reduced suspensions and dropouts were the things that they found. And at least we know that way. We know we're getting what we are paying for with the evaluation. But it's a somewhat different model than what we do on a typical basis. Would that be fair to say? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm assuming the school doesn't charge us anything to be there, these mentors, right? They provide the space and the.
As in-kind, they provide an office for them and a space for them to meet with the youth in the district. Typically, they have a classroom that's is decorated with a lot of college information, and it's a safe place in the building for the youth to go when they are having difficulties during the school day. And the linkage coordinators help them get back on track and back in class so that they can complete their school day.
So does this include any students subject to bullying? I mean, is there anti-bullying going on, or this is more mentoring for getting through their classes and getting to school?
It could be both. I mean, some of the young people have had other issues outside of just academics. The linkage coordinators have, on several occasions, contacted our office to get assistance with the other child-serving public systems because the youth or family needed something above and beyond what the linkage coordinator could provide.
And to add to that, is just exactly what you said. The mentors come in, and I remember the CMSD director from Cleveland, Eric Gordon. They came in, and the George Weiss, the corporate billionaire who came in and they're working with Cleveland now, they wanted social emotional learning. In other words, what they were saying was the children are coming into school with social emotional issues that prevent them from learning 2 + 2 = 4. So before you can get to 2 + 2 = 4, you've got to address the bullying. You've got to address gang activity that they find themselves dealing with. A lot of dynamics, things I've heard from the kids myself that they were going through as to why they were underperforming in the classroom. And that mentor builds a relationship with them and linkage cord and links them to whatever is needed, whether it's a food pantry or whether it's whatever it might be. The fact that they have someone that they can trust and that they tend to come to in that classroom that the school provides, they find out what's going on with the kids. And they find that mentor is able to start to assist them and address them, whether it's just talking with them or pointing them towards all the resources this county or this community can offer. So as a linkage coordinator, which is their official title, they link the children to whatever that child might need. And when they start to address those issues in the child's life, they find that the child starts to blossom. And that is literally what's happening. And that's what the mentor does.
So just as a follow-up question, is this different from school, what traditionally, when I went to school, we had school counselors? So does this add, why aren't the kids able to go simply to their school counselors? And we've had this before, but I want to refresh my answer. Because the school employs those, and they should be paying for those or contracting out.
My understanding from the young people from various programs that we're in, when they describe the role of their guidance counselor, it sounds absolutely nothing like what my guidance counselor did when I was their age. Their role in the districts have changed a lot. And some of the issues that the kids need, they're not addressed in that way. Now, they can help them with some of the college prep stuff, the application, and maybe some of the FAFSA forms and those types of things. But when you start talking about connecting families to resources in the community or really addressing many of the issues that these kids are facing, that doesn't always happen. Matter of fact, it doesn't happen more often than not because the guidance counselors, their hands are full with other duties.
And Robin said it. The mentor is not the guidance counselor. It's not diversion court. Their role is, I like to say, subsidizing the parental role. I had two parents, and I may not have had to go be in C-tagging. But this situation, the linkage coordinator actually helps support and again, keep that child on the right track. He does more than what the guidance counselor does, who's there from 8 to 3 o'clock or whatever the day, 9 to 5. This mentor is contacted in the evening, 1 o'clock, 2 in the morning. Find out why was the kid walking down the middle of the street at 2 in the morning. They call the guy, the linkage coordinator, and he responds, comes out and meets with the child. He is he's non-union. Might say that too, and they do what's necessary to meet the needs of that child.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? All right, do you want to make a motion, Councilman Jones? I mean, this is effective through 12/31/19 and extending a contract, so we're already 2 months in, I guess, to add this money, but there's no need to suspend under emergency, right? Because there's money now to cover.
No, they have pretty much spent their funding from 2018. Basically, we submitted the contracts to the school districts in October, but one of the issues of working with school districts, as Councilman Jones mentioned, is that you have to go before their school boards. And one of our districts, the board president was out of the country for 3 weeks. And when he came back, they went on Christmas break, which meant we did not get the contract back. I think it was almost 7 weeks when we got it back to put it into the system. And so they are now operating, but they're preparing for their spring, the big college tour. And one of the districts contacted me today. They're concerned because they hadn't heard anything about their contract.
So do you want to make your motion?
I make a motion that we move this to the full council under first reading suspension. Or second reading suspension. That's right, second reading, it will be on this coming Tuesday's agenda.
Okay, a second.
Did I say that correctly? Yeah. It should appear on this coming Tuesday's agenda for passage.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I don't have miscellaneous business, and unless anybody has any, we're going to adjourn.